Welcome, everybody. There are a lot of faces, and you'll hear more about why there are more faces, but welcome to our 8th episode of Black Dance Stories. Here's a note about why we are here. Our dance world was pummeled by COVID-19, and Black dance artists are finding ways to talk about life during this time. Our world was further turned upside down after the horrible events ensued nationally and globally, bringing attention, yet again, to the need for the Black Lives Matter movement. Black artists have not been quiet since. Black dance artists have been doing the work. Black dance artists continue to make work. To stay involved, we hold these weekly impromptu discussions and tell stories. Black dance stories. This one action. This is one action, and we will stay involved. We are a community working together to support, uphold, highlight, and celebrate Black creatives. Tonight is our 8th episode of what we hope will be many stories told in the artist's own voices. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you will embrace this series as we do. Spread the word and support each and every artist you see here. And for sure, please come back. Tonight, it's Zane Booker and Oluwadamilare Dary Ayorinde's turn. Today, you will meet just a few of us on the BDS team, but know that we are continually growing. I am Charmaine Warren. I am a Jamaican. I am the great-granddaughter of Ida Boyd, granddaughter of Solomon Golson and Ruby Chapman, and daughter of Theophilus Warren, and my 94-year-old mother, Perline Warren, who lives in Jamaica. I am a non-disabled Black woman. I live on the stolen land of the indigenous Lenape people, now known as Montclair, New Jersey, with my husband, photographer and graphic artist, Tony Turner. Our daughter, Ashay Turner, a Black ballerina with locks, is going into her junior year at Boston Conservatory. I have locks that fall to my shoulders. I'm wearing wooden earrings and a pink t-shirt. Behind me are photos of our family, a large plant, a lamp, and African masks. I love dance. I love dance so much. And I'm here with my part of the BDS family because of my love for dance, not only as a performer, but because of all the gifts that I've received and will always share. I turn it over now to Kimani.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to be here with you and my BDS family. I am coming to you from the village of Harlem on stolen Lenape land. I am a Black non-disabled woman, and I live with my 9-year-old son. I am sitting in my dining room near my kitchen, and I have a golden low-cut haircut, wearing long earrings and an orange top. I am the granddaughter of Lucille Madison, recently transitioned at 104. I teach because of her. I am daughter of Ronald Augustus Fowlin, Jamaican warrior, and Anne Fowlin, Renaissance woman. I dance because of them. My son Tamayo keeps me present with the fascination of a blossoming young visual artist. One thing I want to add before I turn it to Nick is, please everybody vote. We have 74 days left and counting. Voting mandatory, please. I pass it on to you, Nick.
Thank you, Kimani. Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Hall. I am Haitian American. I was born in Brooklyn to Sheila and Curtis Hall. My family, including my sisters Isabella and Victoria, now live in Montclair, which is on stolen Lenape land. I am a recent graduate of the Fordham Ailey BFA program. I'm currently in a white room wearing a blue and white pinstripe shirt, and I'm also the digital media director for Black Dance Stories. With that, I'm going to pass things back to Kimani.
So just to let you all know, it takes a village, and our village, as Charmaine was saying, is growing. We have behind the scenes, right, the important families: Cynthia Tate, publicist; Gabe de Coladenu, web designer; Tony Turner, graphic designer; and now our amazing ASL interpreters, Sharif, Sadie, and Danica. So with that, I pass it back to you, Nick.
All right, so I want to remind everyone tonight to put your name in the chat. We want to see who's joining us. A big part of Black Dance Stories is the community. So we want to see who's joining us, because that's really what we're here for, is the community. And also, secondly, importantly, we want everyone to grab a cocktail, whether for you that's a glass of wine, a cocktail, a glass of water, some kind of beverage. But on that note, cheers to Black Dance Stories.
Cheers. Oh, nice. Thanks again, everybody, for being here. We're so excited. First up, oh my gosh, first up is Zane Booker. Kimani and Nick will go away for a while. Please remember that we want your questions, so drop them into the chat. And Zane Booker is gonna come on in. Zane.
Hey, Charmaine.
Hey, Zane.
Hello.
I feel like it's been so long, but introduce yourself, please.
So, thanks for having me, Black Dance Stories and Charmaine. I'm very happy to be here. I am Zane Booker. I am in Philadelphia on stolen Lenape land. I am in my grandparents' house, which was gifted to us or bequeathed to us, my sister and I. I'm in a blue room with a white shirt and copper curtains that hang behind me. I am the son of Elaine and Charles, Elaine Prattis and Charles Booker. I am the grandson of Margaret Prattis and Edward Prattis, who left me this beautiful house, left us this beautiful house, a house filled with joy and history. I have a wonderful sister, a wonderful brother, another brother, Brandy. So I should say that again. I have a wonderful sister, Brandy. I have a wonderful brother, Demetrius. I have another brother, Richard. And I have a niece that is the daughter of my deceased sister, Stephanie. My father passed in 2000. My mother passed in 2009. My mother watches over me and my father watches over me. And I call on them today to help me tell the beautiful story.
So stories.
Okay, so I keep going, right? Okay, so.
If you want to.
No, I can.
People can only hear my voice now, but
right.
I'm here for you, babe.
I love that. So this is what I've been meditating on since I've since I was invited to do the show. I kept seeing myself sitting in the doorway of 63rd and Market Street, which is the third home of the Philadelphia Dance Company, started by my supreme dance mother, Joan Myers Brown, who I call Mom or Aunt Joan. And I saw myself watching a ballet from Tally Beatty. Tally Beatty's ballet was Beauty is Skin Deep, Ugly is to the Bone. And the reason why this is so important is because in that room was David St. Charles. And David St. Charles passed away recently, like a few days ago, maybe 5 days ago. And what I found so amazing was I think that sitting in that door, watching that ballet, probably around 10 years old, maybe 9, was when I fell in love with dance. And if you've ever seen Beauty is Skin Deep, Ugly is to the Bone, and your life hasn't been changed, then I don't know what's going on in the world. I tell you who, Debbie Manning was in the room, David St. Charles was in the room, Deborah Chase, Carithia Landers, Sid Lucas, probably Karen Coleman at the time, she's Karen Tucker now, probably Evelyn Watkins, so many names, I can't even think of them, Buster, Carlos, Corbett, And I just want to say that at that moment, I think they transferred so much information to me. They gave me the love of dance. I was absorbing, as I reflect back, a history of dance before I could understand what history was. And it was amazing. It had power, it had rhythm. I think it's one of the most amazing pieces ever. I think it's a classic. I think it's the dance world's gem, and everybody should see it. Most people probably know, or at least the last 10 years, the work that probably is the most seen is, help me out, Charmaine. What's the name of the ballet that Ailey does from Tally?
Oh my gosh. Stack up.
Stack up. So I'm gonna move on with Tally. I'm gonna stay on the Tally theme. When Tally was making Stack Up, so I was in Philadelphia at age 14. I'll drop little parts about my history, but I don't want to get stuck on history. So I joined the company at age 14, and the first thing I did was work with Louis Johnson. And I didn't do much. I did the Bop sections at the end of the Bop section at the end of Forces of Rhythm. So that was my introduction to the company. Doing that for years, working with Mr. Johnson, laying in the carpet on the side, and getting called, after 4 hours to come and do the Bop section. That was probably my first year with Philadelphia. Eventually, I got put into the Gang Gang section. But I'm gonna skip back to Stack Up. What I want to say about Stack Up is I was probably about 16 when Tally came to set another piece on us, which was done to Prince music. And I can't remember the name of the piece. That's terrible. But at the same time, he had done a piece called Blue Shift, and he was doing Stack Up. So some of the choreography was the same. And what I'll say about that is when I finally got to work with Tally, I can't say I was disappointed, but I was so nervous and scared because he was so mean. Tally could be really, really mean. And one of the first things he said to us, he would tell you couldn't dance. So one day we were working on this piece. I don't know if we were at 63rd Street or if we were at 9 North Preston Street, which is the present home. And Tally started his rehearsal. And maybe 15, 20 minutes into the rehearsal, we were working on the camel walk. We were working on social dances, tedious work, trying to get it right. And everybody was working. It was the middle of summer. It was sweating. And in true Tally fashion, and I don't think there's anybody who has worked with Tally who doesn't have one of these stories. Tally walked over to the cassette after telling us we couldn't dance, stopped the music, and walked out of the studio. Y'all can't dance. And Debbie Manning told me a story, and I won't tell her story. I'll let her tell her own story. But she told me a similar story on a long conversation we had not too long ago. But that was my Tally story. So jumping back to Mr. Johnson. So those were my choreographers. My core choreographers I worked with when I was a kid were Lois Johnson, Tally Beatty, Milton Myers, and Jean Hill Sagan. If you were a dancer in Philadelphia, getting into Jean's work was like graduating from high school. And that's another work I used to watch from the doorway. And I think this is where I'm going. I'm thinking about when I was in the doorway. And the piece that drops in my mind and in my image and the images that come up really strongly are about a piece called Conversations for Seven Souls, right? And I remember Carlos Shorty, I remember Corbin McNeil, I remember Karen Still Prendergrass, I remember Nancy Berman Cantra, I remember Elena Anderson, I remember, oh God rest his soul, I can't remember his name, it'll come. Again, so much power, so much technique, so much rehearsal. Gene's favorite phrase was do it again, do it again. And Gene was this amazing visual artist. So a lot of times you would see his work and you would think sculpture, you would think ballet. He was rooted in ballet. He was part of some of the original ballet companies and the specifics of the company. I know he danced with Dolores Brown and Franca Jimenez, and that the New York Ballet at that time, I believe. I could be making a mistake. Teresa Ruth Howard will correct me, I'm sure. But Jean was an amazing mentor to me. I learned about movement. I learned about watching and seeing and imitating. And I think that's what I got from sitting in the doorway. I learned how to perform and interpret movement before I understood technique. And Joan will tell you that. She said, you could dance before you had any technique. It took me a long time to get technique, but I was in the company because I could perform and I could dance and I had whatever I had. So Jean was amazing. Going back to Louis Johnson. So Forces of Rhythm, that's another amazing story. Louis Johnson was probably the most giving mentor I had from the time I was about 14 until the time he died. Louis would drill you to death, right? You knew you were going to work when you got in there with Louis. He wanted you to make the moment. He wanted you to get the step, and he wanted you to act. And I think what I learned. So I'll tell you the story. So I guess I'm about 15. I'm just getting into the gang section of Forces of Rhythm. And anybody in DTH or Philadelphia and any other company that's done Forces of Rhythm knows the gang section. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. You jump up, it's 4 times. You come in, it's this build, it's this amazing build. Men in these diapers, it's gorgeous piece. Well, at some point you had to do a cartwheel. Mr. Johnson used to wear clogs and a big muumuu, and he always had something to eat. Or if he didn't have something to eat, he was asking somebody to get him something to eat. And I was about 14 or 15. And Mr. Johnson was a big man. He was a big man for a very long time. And what I remember that shocked the crap out of me was Mr. Johnson in frustration one day. And I guess I hadn't seen him move really, but he had to be 40 or 50 years old. He probably was about my age. Jumped off the chair in clogs, did a cartwheel, did the beginning section of the gang, and went back and sat down and picked up something to eat. And he said, now that's the step. I can't give you the step. I didn't give you the video version, the TV version, the movie version. But that was Louis. That was Louis, and I love Louis, and I miss Louis. Mr. Johnson, Uncle Louie, as we used to call him. And I would work with him on Tremonisha. I would work with him on Tremonisha twice. In my 30s, I worked with him on Tremonisha at Howard University. We were resetting it. And that was crazy because he still expected me to dance like I was 15 or 16 years old. So he was always asking me to get up and show something. And I would say, Mr. Johnson, I didn't warm up, or I'm still in the middle of warming up. And he said, well, can't you show the step? Can't you show the step? You got to show the step, son. I was like, okay. So I just decided that I need to come into the room warm and ready to show the step.
That's right.
So I talked about Jean, I talked about Louis, I talked about Milton. Oh my God, Milton Myers. Milton, I think Milton was such a clear, I think the last piece I did before I went away to college was from Milton Myers. And Milton, I don't know, Milton just imbued me. He just believed in me so much. And as I was leaving, because he was just starting to work with the company, I never forget the thing that he said to me. And he said, and I was just getting into this whole ballet thing. I had gone to the National Foundation for the Arts, which is, I think it's youth something now. But I went down there in my high school, and I realized I ain't had no technique because I was up against Desmond and like Jackie Atcats and Tony Powell and all these cats who were training. So, I said Desmond Richardson, so I went down there and I had a rude awakening. But I came in second, I was behind Desmond, and I went back, I was like, I gotta get technique. And everybody had been telling me for years, that I should take ballet. And that was one of the things that me and Aunt Joan fought about. We used to fight all the time. When I was like 12 or 13, she was like, you can't come in here if you don't wear tights. So I would quit and I wouldn't wear tights. And I would go away for 2 weeks and then I would come back. And then I had to wear tights. And then she said, you can't come in here until you take more ballet classes. Then I would quit and I would go away. and I come back and I take more ballet classes. So skip back to going down to National Foundation for Advancement in the Arts. Went down there, came in second, realized I need to get technique. I was on this whole ballet trip, and I was like, I want to get good enough to, you know, be in American Ballet Theater or something like that. And Milton said, that's what you should aim for. He said, even if you hit somewhere in between, it doesn't matter, but aim as high as possible. And I never forgot that. And I carried that with me everywhere. The other person that I loved, of course, is Joan Myers Brown. I don't think there was a time when I did anything that I wasn't supported by her. When I went away to school, when I went to New York, when I started my first company in Philadelphia, the Smoke, Blaze, and Jade Arts Initiative, I don't think there was any time that she didn't support me. She supports me now, you know. Yeah, I love that woman, and she's amazing. The other person that changed my life in Philadelphia was Pat Thomas, right? So I wrote this, I was answering some questions in preparation for this, and I realized that besides being my spiritual mentor and guide, and the person who taught me the most about teaching, and the most about how to bring God in the room when you teach, she taught me my relationship to dance, which was, dance is my spiritual practice, actually. You know what I mean? And I think that was the only space, well, I shouldn't say that's the only space, but that's the space where I felt a spiritual awakening through dance, or a spiritual connection, I should see. That place and on the house dance floor, on, you know, when I would go dancing I was a house dancer. I used to go listen to house music clubs and dance and all that stuff. That's another place where I found spirit. But it was a similar connection. It was a connection that transcended whatever was going on bad in the world or in my life. So anyway, I'm babbling, but that's okay, I guess, right, Charmaine?
No, you're not babbling. You are not babbling. Those names, are you kidding me?
Well, I want to honor them. And, you know, David St. Charles is so heavy on my mind because him and a brother named Tom Miles were like, they were like men, but like these versions of men. They exaggerated virility. And I think they did that on purpose because they were dancers and they needed to be men on the street. And, you know, Philadelphia has always been in the hood, you know, or at least in the Black community, whatever the hood means to you. So Dave would stand up like this, and you know, that's the model that I saw, you know, besides all the dancing, and it was just how he projected manhood, him and Tom, you know, and they would do that to me. And I tell you a funny story about Tom Miles. We were doing a piece by Tobin Green called Bound to Be Free. I'm doing the company, I'm 16. I don't know how old Tom is. He might be 10 or 20 years older than me. And he had taught me the part. And so I'm second cast for the part, and this is typical Tom. I'm on the side. He's like, okay, now, fella, you're going to do this right behind me. So the part comes for him to run out, and Tom stays on the side, and I go out and do this. I'm out there by myself doing the part. Typical Tom. So that's how I got into more ballets. Another story about Pretty as Skin Deep, Ugly as to the Bone. It's a piece I never did. And that pains me to this day. I never did it. This last section of Pretty as Skin Deep is Ugly to the Bone is in A Rag of Bone and a Hank of Hair, which was the piece that Tally did while he was working on Stack Up. I auditioned. Joe made me audition with Michael Miles. And she told me I wasn't ready. And I was probably about 15 or 16. And like I told you, I ain't had no technique. You had to have technique to dance Tally. You wasn't dancing Tally if you ain't had no technique. Those kids, Jamila Toombs, Blondell Reynolds, who else was in that room? Jamila Toombs, Lord. Woo! You ain't never seen a powerful dancer like that. I can't leave out Miss Brown. Miss Brown was my ballet teacher. Miss Brown, I think, taught me to respect decorum. She taught me to respect the process. She taught me to respect technique. She taught me to respect how you walked into a room. Denise Jefferson. Miss Jefferson taught me discipline. She was my in my younger days, she used to welcome me up at Ailey with open arms. I would go up for the summers. I would stay up there for 2 weeks. And I was one of her babies. I was one of her Philly babies. I would go up there. She would immediately give me, 2 weeks, passes to take classes. And, she taught me discipline. She was the first person to ever make me sit down in the class. I think I got a cramp. And she said, okay, work out. No, you know what it was? It was a prance. Charmaine, we doing prances across the floor in Graham class. And so Miss Jefferson said, didn't I tell you to straighten your knee? And I think I said I had a cramp. And she said, get out, sit down, sit down. I had teachers that would put you out of class. If you talk back, we didn't have this whole conversation thing that we have now. So when I taught, it was bizarre to me that people were speaking. It was like, why are you talking to me? I'm like, I don't understand. But why are you asking questions? Miss Jefferson, you said, I'm gonna do this combination once. And if you didn't get it, maybe 2 or 3, I don't know. I think it was once, but she would do these long combinations. And if you didn't get it, baby, you were done. You was either gonna get put out or embarrassed. I think that's when I learned how to follow really well. You had to follow because my brain was too scared to remember anything back then. Yeah, Philadelphia was an amazing place. After I left Philadelphia, I went to North Carolina School of the Arts. I met Mabel Robinson there. That was my introduction to musical theater. Mabel Robinson was amazing. And there were other teachers there too, but I'm gonna focus on my Black dance people. Mabel Robinson, I tell you a story about Mabel. So we were doing Revelations. For some reason, we were doing it as a study of choreography and composition or something in Mabel's class. And Mabel, I was disappointed because I didn't get the solo. And she said, and I never forget this, she said, I'm giving you what you need. I'm not giving you what you want. I'm giving what you need. I'm giving you what you need to become a better dancer. And I was like, oh, okay, I got it. And I think I was doing the first or second solo, probably the first solo, the pitch one. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me too. And I didn't backtalk. I didn't fight. I was like, okay, I got it. I did Don't Bother Me, You Can't Cope with Mabel Robinson. That was amazing. She just taught me, I learned about how to take direction in a musical theater setting because I hadn't done musical theater in those spaces. I think I had done maybe a small summer stock thing to earn some money, but I hadn't really worked with somebody who cared about what I was doing. And that was amazing. I can't say enough about Mabel. So after I left North Carolina, I went to New York. I studied at School of American Ballet. And then I went to the Netherlands Dance Theater. I tell you a story about Netherlands Dance Theater, which is really controversial. There was a piece, I got into the second company and I got into the first, and when I got into the first company, there was probably about 5 Black dancers in the company. I want to say there was Rob Dungy, Johnny Meal, Ken Asala hadn't gotten in yet. And maybe the other 2 dancers were in the second company. But when I got in, let's say it was 3 Black men in the company. There was a piece called Saraband. And people probably know this piece because there's a black and white video series and I'm doing the solo. But the piece was created on Johnny Meal. Johnny Meal was the true interpreter of the piece. It was the first piece I danced when I got in the company. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. It was the first solo work I did as a featured soloist when I got in the company. Unfortunately, the piece, the exotic Black male, the piece is sort of, the solo can be interpreted as the exotic Black male. And I was a fighter, right? I never got into a company and just a white company.
You're a fighter? What?
Look, so, I got the piece and then, and then the company, the white folks in the company say stuff like, oh, you only got that post because you're Black and yada, yada, yada. So I addressed Yeri. And this was an ongoing discussion about this exotified Black male. And what I remember about the discussion, one, that he was open for the discussion. So I take my hat off to him for that. I didn't get any brownie points for speaking my mind. Let me tell you that. I got backlash. You know, when you speak your mind, and companies aren't necessarily democratic spaces. Anyway, Yuri and I had a conversation, and one of the things he said when I questioned him, why am I doing this part? I want to be, you know, if I get a solo, I want it to be because I earned it. I don't want it to be because of the color of my skin. That really bothered me, that I was getting this part because Gene had done the part. And he said, you know, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think, and I think this might have been our third or fourth conversation. And he was like, no, the first time he kind of like, I think he was shocked that I would even come to him about it. And I can't remember what he said, to be honest. I just remember sort of sitting there. I think we were in Greece. And I remember sitting with some lunch space with him. But the second time I remember having the conversation with him, which was about another sort of exotified moment when he was going to use the 3 Black dancers together. And of course, somebody in the company came and told me about this. And I go up to his office, Dary, what you getting ready to do? You can't be using us like no, you know, decorative pieces. And he said he didn't think it was wrong he didn't think it was wrong to use somebody for their natural costume.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, how do you receive that? Charmaine.
Wow.
When you hear that, how do you receive that?
I have no answer for that. My mouth is still open. I want to cheers with you. I want to bring Dary in, and maybe you ask Dary that question. Cheers with you. Cheers, Zane.
Cheers. What's up, Dary?
Dary, hold on. I'm gonna give us some shout outs. Let me cheers you, Dary. But that's a big question.
Correct.
Big question. All right. Thanks everybody for being here. Amy Costello is in the house. Renee Redding Jones is in the house. Meredith is here, y'all. Meredith from last week is here. Molly Silverberg. Hi, Molly. Carol Dilly, Clarence Brooks. You said you would come. And Edisa Weeks is here too. Oh my gosh. So, Zane, Dary, did you hear that? Did you hear what?
Yeah, I have a question.
I mean, so how would you receive that, Dary?
How would I receive that? One, it's not a costume. That's right. It's just not a costume. So we're not.
Wait, let me say 2 things. The name is Yuri Killian, because say their names. But what year was this, Zane? That's the other part, right?
94, 95, maybe. I got in the company in 89.
Dary, it's a long time ago. Were you born?
That's when I was just born.
Oh, see?
94. I mean, yeah. I mean, I can't speak to it like in that time. I don't know about it. But if I heard that now, I would probably freeze, because that's normally what I do when like things happen. I'm just like, what the actual hell? I'll probably freeze. I'll probably take it home, talk about it with my friends, think about it, and probably 2 days later, I would come back and be like, we gotta talk about this. It's not a costume. It's not a costume. I feel like that's where the conversation starts. My skin color, my body, me, I'm not a costume. I'm not a costume for myself. I'm not a costume for you. I'm not a costume. I'm a person.
Right.
Maybe you want to.
I'm gonna leave you all to continue this conversation. I'm here though. I'm gonna leave you all to continue.
I mean, well, I want to. I just really appreciate the way that you're like. It took a village. It took a village for me to have the experiences that I'm having, and then need to know that it took a village. Like, I really just appreciate that. I feel like that's something I'm learning, like, as I continue, like, in this career, in this journey, to like really understand that I need to bring my people and my memories with me, and I can also follow them.
Right.
I really appreciate that. I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
Which I feel like could also play into this conversation that we're having about the costume comment.
Right.
You're talking about like technique a lot, and I'm just like, yo, take me back to be like, I started dancing, but I got no technique. Like, what am I gonna do about it? But you were dancing professionally so early, and I'm wondering when was it for you that you were just kind of like, and now I'm good, and now I'm good. Did you ever feel that way?
No, I think I was oblivious when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I when I when I went down to Florida and I saw the New York kids twirling, I mean, I already knew that I always had work to do because, you know, the folks that I were watching, like Debbie Manning and Debbie Chase and Kid Bears and, you know, Elaine Anderson and Carlos Shorty and Corbin McNeil and Uncle Warren Miller, and all those folks had technique, right? They could dance.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always trying to catch up, but I wasn't aware of how far behind I was because I was there. I think so the short answer to your question is I was always so busy working for the next level that even if I felt accomplished in some space, it was a short-lived moment.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I was on to the next thing.
Yeah.
One of the moments I felt accomplished was in a piece by Jean-Christophe Maillot. It was called After All. I was in the second company at NDT. He came and set the piece. We had a great connection. The piece was about his best friend who was a Black man who committed suicide. Again, I was in a space, but I didn't, anyway, we'll get into that. That's a whole nother conversation. But I walk into a party and there's a group of dancers talking about the person who was the lead in that piece. They didn't know that was me. That was the first time I felt like, wow, I really had something special. You know what I mean? But then it was time to try to get into the main company. So it was back to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hear you.
Yep.
Whew. Okay, I'm thinking about the natural costume comment. It came back to me. And I can't help, and you have to understand, like, I'm not like in a ballet world. That's not what I do. So I don't really know about it, to be quite honest. But in my head, there's like a lot of conversations that are happening about like black in ballet and the ways that they're synonymous and the ways that they're not. And I'm just wondering if the comment like that is sustainable because of the form in which you're dancing in. How do you feel about this?
Say it again. Is the comment like that sustainable? What do you mean by sustainable?
Sustainable is not the right word. Like, do you feel like why do you feel like he would say that to you?
I think so. So I might get some pushback on this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm gonna give Yuri a little bit of grace because I had many conversations with him, and he is a white man, and he is sort of steeped in his sort of version of the world. And I think what he was trying to say, awkwardly, is that unfortunately, when I see you, I get these images of this exotic Black male. You know what I mean? And it's him being honest. And I'm saying it was his way of being honest. And sometimes as a choreographer, I feel compelled to use that. Now that's fucked up, right? Yeah. But I was having an honest conversation with the director of my company, probably at about the age of like 23, 24 years old. Okay, I called him on this shit, and that's what he came back with.
Right.
That's who he was. That's who he is. But he was able to have a conversation with me about it. And we had more conversations. I always called him on this shit when it came to me being some kind of token. You know what I mean? Or if I felt like I was a token. And we had a conversation. Now, has he grown? You know, I saw a thing that he wrote. But I give him grace because he had the conversation, and hopefully it got something going in his mind. Like maybe he hears that conversation totally differently now. Right. I just think that for me in the moment, I didn't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? I didn't know what to do with the word costume. I didn't know what to do with it. I was like, well, at least it's a fucking answer. Right. You know what I mean? I was like, okay. You know what I mean? And I knew that he respected me. He respected me because I challenged him, but it made it uncomfortable. So I love the fact, I used to look back on that moment and think, wow, I screwed up my career. I should have just shut up and danced. But now in this light of everything that's going on, I'm glad I was me. I'm glad I was me. Yeah. So we're probably going to talk, but I was trying to figure out how to approach having a conversation with you. And I couldn't find any dialogue. So I hadn't heard your voice.
Okay.
I only saw you move. I saw you in Kyle's piece and I saw you in your short snippet that's on your
Right.
on your site.
Yes.
So from a movement perspective, like how do you channel your emotional nuance?
Thank you for asking that question because it means that you looked, and I appreciate that. How do I channel it? So that's an ongoing process. It's like a few years ago, it dawned on me. I was like, oh my God, I want to dance like myself. And then that just changed like all of my concepts, like what I thought I was doing with my life in this field. And I was like, I think in order to do that, I have to dance emotionally because I'm an extremely emotional person. I feel like if I invite that into my dance practice, myself is just gonna come forth because that's just the way I see the world. So then I was like in the studio a lot and I just stopped moving so much. I was just like, I gotta stop moving so much. I'm like moving big all the time. I gotta bring it down, bring it in. What's my body feeling? What's my body want to do? What are the pathways that are used to me? And I felt like as I was like in that explorative place, like I would be able to like get in touch with like my emotions, like as I was dancing. And I found a link. Like I found a link in my movement to the way I feel. That I'm still like working with, trying to learn about. But yeah, now every time I move my body, like emotions rev up, and it just.
And you allow that
time, yeah, and then I allow it to like take me, and it means that like the form in like which the movement is set in can no longer hold as much weight as they used to. Things have to be able to shift because that is what's happening, and it's actually the emotions that are happening in me is what I want to portray. More than like what I'm doing on stage, because that can come and go. You know, I can hit a step, not hit a step, yeah. But what I'm feeling, when I want to express about the way I'm feeling about a certain thing, that's what I would love to share with somebody. I would love to like also share like reminders of like, right, we should care about the way we feel and should be invited into the spaces that we're in. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. And I have another question. So Trisha Brown, right, and this relates to how you phrase the conversation about form. Because I mean, Trisha Brown is a form of classical.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's a classical form. It's sort of rooted in whatever her. I have a great respect for her. I don't mean to use it in that way.
Talk.
So you know I'm here to interrupt you, but you have to answer this question. No, go.
Okay, so quickly, I'll just say, when you asked me the question, did you think he would allow because he rooted in that form? In your experience of racism and people seeing things and seeing you in that space, because it wasn't a lot of us. I don't know who else was Black in the company at the time that you were in the company.
Kyle.
Okay, one.
Kyle Marshall.
Yes.
Were there moments when you had that revelation that, oh, they see me as an object, or they see me as an interpretation of something?
So many moments. And looking back on the moments, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get rid of the shame that happens over it, because I'm just like, was I stupid to like have not seen that right away, like from the start? Also, what led me to want to be there in the first place? These are questions that I like was asking myself after I left the company that I don't ask as much. But yeah, there were many particular moments where I was just like, oh, like y'all don't know how to see me as much as you would like to see me, because I felt like I was a positive presence in the room, and I just feel like I'm easy to work with because I don't know, I just be joking a lot. So I could feel the like friendly, the like, we like being around you, we like you being in this room, like your personality, it adds to the space, it adds positivity. But they just couldn't like see my body doing the work. And one is because there's like they're very specific about literally the bodies that do the work. They're like, this body type, this typecasting happens in that company essentially. So there's one. So if we're typecasting, well, I got about so many options because you know, it's not too many people who are looking like me have run through that company. There's Keith Thompson, who actually taught me at Rutgers. There's Stacy Spence. There's David Thomas. You know, these people that were around, but they weren't like the pieces I was learning. Like they weren't in them like too much.
Wow. So I think I need to bring you all back to this discussion after, because wow, Zane, you did a zinger.
Yeah.
Cheers and welcome, Dary. Cheers, cheers. I'm gonna write it down so we come back to this.
Because
But I just want to say before you go for a second, Zane, that Trebian is here. Trebian Pollard. Ann Davidson is here. Yay, Ann. Summer McCoy is here. And your sister, Brandy, is here, Zane. Brandy said, I love my brother to pieces. All right, folks. So, Dare, you know what? I'm not on camera, but I'm here. I'm hugging you tightly, and we're sitting in my living room and we're chatting. So cheers again. Introduce yourself, and I'm here.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Hello, I'm Oluwadamilare Ayorinde. I go by Dary for short. It's my drink. Oh yes, this is my drink, which is a Barantura, if you guys know what that is, with like a little bit of an ice John Worts tea and some Jim Beam. And this is my room. I want to show you guys actually. These are artworks by my good friend, visual artist, archivist, Missy Robinson. That one on the bottom is actually from like the first time I had like rented space in New York. She had laid out that thing in conversations about having a like forever friendship collaboration. And the one on top of it is a gift that she gave to our other friend, Miriam Gabriel, but I took a cat like it more. Yeah, I just want to show you guys where I'm at. I'm not gonna OD with the camera so that no one gets dizzy. That's it. And then it's me. So I'm gonna get my notes.
That was so great.
Yes, this is.
Thank you.
Yeah, I gotta. Yeah, I love my space so much, so much. That's why I want to show you. It's a big part of who I am. So yes, Oluwadamilare Olaoluwa Ayorinde. I go by Dary for short. I am a Nigerian Black man. I go by he, him, his. I see a Nigerian Black because I sometimes feel some type of ways about the phrasing African American, but that's something we can get into later, if we get into it. I'm currently on stolen Lenape land, which is currently called Jersey City. I live in between Journal Square and McKinley Square, so there's like a lot of like Arabic families and Indian families and Black families. That's kind of the environment that I live in. My family, so I'm reading a book that I'm actually gonna have to go get. It's not gonna be long. Because the title is very, very long and I don't wanna get it wrong. So Wayward Lives, Beautiful Experiments, Intimate Histories of Riotous Black Girls, Troublesome Women, and Queer Radicals by Sadia Hartman. And I don't know, it's amazing. I'm taking my time reading it because quarantine. But essentially she just like, you know, she's just questioning the way like Black women are recorded, remembered, like the reasons why. And in the retelling of their stories, like there has to be a bit of a creative edge because you just can't trust the sources. So in that vein, I feel inspired to add a creative story edge to my Black Dad story. Okay, and it starts here.
Of course.
We start in Nigeria. This is my grandmother on my mother's side, Eyitayo, and she gave birth to two women, one Biola, which is my aunt, and one Fumilayo Lafe, that's my mother. So my grandmother had a husband. I don't know who my grandfather was. Both of my grandfathers passed before I was born. But apparently I take after my father's father, which is why they call me Baba Legba. But yeah, she gave birth to two children. After her second child, her vagina had a lot of tearing. So she was like, I'm not having kids anymore. which then made her husband like leave her. So then she was a single mother with two women. And one of those women, my mother, was a very smart, vivacious, serious, ambitious woman who like wanted to do things and live her own way. So she was sent to live, look at mommy. So she was sent to live with her uncle, and I know him as lawyer because he's the first educated person in my mom's side of the family. So they literally call him lawyer, and that's how I've always known him. And she lived with him, and she was kind of like the house girl. That like there's like that culture where like in order for someone to get education, they'll like live with a family member that has money and access to education, and they'll just like, be
Yes.
family maid. So this
Yes.
was my mom for a long time until she went to the University of Ibadan. When she moved there, she met which word I want to use? My father, Babatunde Ayorinde, and he's a bit older, and he's like wanting to be an accountant and move to America. He's got dreams. He loves to travel just like me. They met and they got married. I can't remember what year they got married. But look, that's my mom. That's my dad. That's my uncle who has now passed, but I grew up going to his house because him and his like wife lived in Teaneck as well. And that's my mom's sister, I believe, when she's younger. They got married, eventually moved to the States, had their first child, to me. That's me too. But this is how I like to remember her because she's like my protector. We've always had each other's back. Tumi Nino Ayorinde, who is a wonderful, strong, beautiful Black woman who is a science researcher at Rutgers Newark. That's my girl, that's my homie. Look, more pictures of us. This was for my 5th birthday. That's her behind me. And then eventually 2 years later, boom, me. I was born. Born. Yeah, so I was born and I had mass discoloration. Like half of my skin was like lighter than the other. So this is this half of my skin that's light, which is now like manifested in this birthmark that will go like that goes down my back and like continues to shrink as I grow. But I think it's done now because I'm done getting taller. And that was that. And then there was me, and that's how it came to be. After that, when I was living in Nigeria, my mother called me and was like, I'm pregnant with him. And his name is Timileyin Oluyomba. So I have 3 parents. I don't have a picture of my stepfather because this is from like an old picture set. But my stepfather, Alaiton Oluyomba, has been in my life since I was 4. So that's my father, essentially. So I have 3 parents. And this is his first son with my mother. That's Timileyin Oluyomba. That's my little bro. He's now 16, but this is how I like to remember him because I remember this day very much. And after that, they had my best friend, my little sister, Fisayomi Oluyomba. Very, very smart girl. Her birthday is next Tuesday. She wants to go to the beach. That's my family. I have a stepsister. Her name is Adenike Oluyomba. She lives in Atlanta. It's going to be hard to see her, but you can see her. That's her. She's about to go to nursing school. She just graduated. And this is us when we're younger, going to Coney Island. This is a cousin of mine, Timmy Tope, who lives in Jamaica, Queens. And that's us. So that's my family. And that's like my siblings are really my backbone. They're like a really huge part of who I am. And my relationship with them, working on my relationship with them, furthering my relationships with them, like takes a lot of mental, physical, emotional headspace and a lot of time. I care about it. Teaneck, yes, Teaneck. That's where I'm from. So I'm from Teaneck, New Jersey. And yes, so I want to tell you guys about how I got into dance, because why not? I'm 16 years old. I'm in a Teams Academy, which is essentially like a accelerated program for kids who want to be engineers or like scientists. But it's like one of those high school things where they make you feel like you are so much smarter than everybody else around you, but really just give everybody the time of day and we can all do the same thing kind of situation. But I was there and I was like learning how to code and yada yada yada. And while kids were having 2 periods, we were having 4 like quick classes and different stuff. Come my junior year, my guidance counselor, it's like, you need to take an art class or you won't graduate in time. It hadn't even occurred to me. This time I'm like playing sports. I'm like a huge fan of wrestling at this point. And I was like, I want to do film. Film got cut, which is a whole story, budget cuts and all that drama that I used to be really a part of in our education system. Yes, thank you, Cynthia. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do dance because I've always felt like I'll either enjoy gymnastics or dance. And before I started dancing, I would watch So You Think You Can Dance. And I'd be like, oh, this is cute. This is cute. They look good. They're dancing good. You know. Now I look at it and I don't feel the same way, but back then it was a different story. So I decided to do dance, and I took a dance class in high school, and that was it. I was like floored. Like my dance teacher was like, "Oh, you caught the dance bug," and that was it. I took 2 dance classes in high school instead of taking gym, and I was like going to a dance studio in Inglewood, and I would have to walk. My parents were so against it. They were so against it. They were just like, "Dance? Ha! For what?" Okay, they had plans. My sister's gonna be a doctor, I was gonna be a lawyer. They had plans. You already know about it. So when I was like, hey, I think I'm actually gonna study dance in university, my mom cried. She literally cried. That was her first response. And essentially was like, if this is something that you want to do, if this is something that you really believe you can do, I'm gonna go ahead and let you do it. I'm gonna be hands off until I see that this is something that you actually take seriously. Because dance is probably the first thing that I stuck to until now. And I did. I just got obsessed and I did. And I just love being able to express myself. And I also felt like, there are spaces in the world where I can be me. I'm like not out at this point. I'm not accepting myself like as a queer gay man at all. It's not an option. You know, so I'm like stepping into dance. I'm like seeing people just like be them and be accepted and not be like too much of a conversation unless it's wanted. And I'm like, I want that. Like I want to be myself. Like I want to love myself and accept myself. And like I want myself to be in the work I decide to do. I'm gonna do this. Went to Rutgers University, graduated Rutgers University, became a dancer. Or I guess I became a dancer when I was 16, and I just stayed a dancer ever since. Yes, I started dancing for Kyle Marshall before I had graduated, and that kind of blossomed into friendships that are now complicated, but friendships nonetheless. With Missy Robinson, whose work I was just showing you. That's how I met her, who I also gone to Rutgers, and then I became really close with Miriam Gabriel and Bria Bacon, who also went to Rutgers and was like a year under me when we started working together, and then it just became like family. And I reconnected with my good friend Morgan Bryant, who I made Home Here with, which is like, I don't know, the first piece I did that's kind of like, how you feeling? You know, I feel like I've danced so much about how other people are feeling or what other people are doing, or I've danced so much trying to be something that I'm not, or danced so much trying to prove something. And it was the first time I was just like, literally, how are you feeling? Like, why do you want to do this? Like, for who, for why? And she joined me in that journey, and like we had already been close friends, and they just kind of married us in love. It sounds dramatic, but I love that person. Yes, and then I went on to dance for Trisha Brown. But to be honest, besides the conversation I'm gonna have later, responding to Zane's conversation, I don't want to talk about it any more than that. And I danced for Stephanie Van Bland, which is why I was like so happy when she was here in the first episode. I like still dance for her on and off. And Colleen Thomas and Kayla Farish, and yeah, I just dance for people. So this is a time where I'm gonna need you to help me out, Charmaine, and ask me a question.
I'm here.
Yes.
I think you should talk about a little bit more about you and Morgan and that duet. It was your first.
It was my first. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
This choreography thing. You said I want to tell people about how I became a dancer. Hello.
Yeah. Right. So we got to take it back. So I'm on tour in Italy, and Missy meets me and Kyle. We're on tour in Italy, and we're gonna like just we're just gonna have vacation for 6 weeks. And part of that vacation, we're stopping by Color Block, which is I don't know, like just like an art commune essentially, like in Stoltenhagen, which is like town village, like an hour train outside of Berlin. And we went there to do Color Block, which was led by Joy Mariama Smith and Hanu, who will not tell us their last name because they really enjoyed like playing with mystery. And in that workshop, some things that I really took from it was like removing like shame, like working with and through shame, and also just like straight up being in comfort, like discovering self and discovering community, but in a comfortable setting because it was exclusive to people of color. Um, and we did a thing where we had to introduce ourselves 10 minutes. You can talk, you can dance, you can not do anything. I had danced, and it was the first time that I felt like I had danced and I had literally nothing to prove. And I was like, this is it. Right. I forget that dance has the power to be like a shameless vehicle of expression. Like your body can just express as it is, like with everything it is. Like I was like, oh, I forget that it has this power. And I remembered, and I was like, I never want to forget again. Like I never want to forget that I can access this thing that's beyond me, above me, that I get to like, interact with. Came back home. I'm renting space, and I'm like, just like in a dance studio, I'm like re-fall in love with Fela Kuti, who I recently went back to my mom's church, and one of the guys was like, why you listen to Fela Kuti as if like that's like what the new thing. And I was like, it's not about that. But I just had found like so many parallels. Like my father's from, I wanted to mention this, like my father's from Abeokuta, from Ogun State, and that's where Fela's mother is, and her name is Fumilayo, and that's my mother's name, so I felt a connection. Also, Wale Soyinka, who's a writer who I really enjoy, and now I'm gonna toot his horn. He's just like an incredible poet and storyteller, and he was the first African Nobel Peace Prize literature winner, and he's Yoruba. He's also from the same place. He was like jailed for a long part of his life during the Civil War, Biafran War that happened there, and just like his encounters are really important. And he like his writings and his poetry have really just always done so much to me. He like taught me that performance is where we interact with the cosmos. Like that's a quote from his that I just never forget. Like we come to performance to interact with the things that are above us, and that's why performance is such a sacred space. So I'm like relearning all of these things. I'm like learning about Fela's mom, Fumilayo Kuti, who's just like off the chain with it. Like she's like, studying abroad. Okay, she's like the first woman to like drive a car, first woman to be educated. Then she's forming women unions and education unions, both for like women who are high class and the women who are low class. She's like, we need to organize in both sectors so that like everyone is like, so that women have rights and women can be educated. And I'm just like, oh, you're like really cool. So I'm just like, Fela Kuti. Listening to a lot of music, I'm discovering different things about my body. It's the first time I'm like, oh my God, you're a beautiful dancer. Because every other time that I had felt like I had called myself a beautiful dancer, it's because I had looked really good doing something else. Or like, I'd been like, right, like that aesthetic, whether it's like, the postmodern aesthetic or like the contemporary aesthetic, like, what I'm trying to say. Like, when you feel like you fit in, then I'm like, wow, like I'm finally good. I'm finally a good dancer. So I went to actually that question, Dane, about like the technique. Like I feel like for a long time, technique for me was like, when will I be able to call myself good? So now I'm kind of like, done. I'm done with this. This is not sustainable. I'm dancing and I'm sad and I'm not happy about this job I wanted so much. So I'm like rediscovering that. And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this alone. I don't want to do anything alone, really. This kind of person I am. And I was like, I'm going to ask Morgan because I always have felt like I can really be myself around her. And we had a time in our lives where our friendships we almost lost our friendship and we got it back. Because I'll never forget, we were like at this party, I'm just like, girl, this friendship can't go. So let's talk about it. So I was like, I'm gonna ask Morgan. And me and Morgan don't dance like at all. And at this time our lives had like no similar interest in movement and stuff like this, but we just really vibe with each other. And I just felt like I can trust you and I feel like I know I'm safe with you and vice versa. So we came together and started to like make this duet, which at first I had this idea. I was just like, this duet is about to be my relationship with my ancestors, like my Yoruba ancestry. I'm like getting like really into it because I'm Yoruba and I grew up in a Yoruba household, but it's very interesting. It's like, like all these like Oshun, the Oshun Osogbo festival is actually happening in Nigeria right now, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I can check that out because I know like a lot of people care about Oshun and stuff like this. But these are not part of my upbringing because my family is Christian. And also like when I lived in Nigeria, like I don't remember hearing about those things because of like the westernization / like the wanting to be westernized / like the moving on, I grew up in I grew up in Celestial Church of Christ, which is this church, think like Santeria, imagine a church, take away a little bit of the drama, but keep the white. Everybody's Yoruba, everyone's speaking Yoruba, and they believe in Jesus Christ. So this is the kind of church I grew up in. So I'm just like, I kind of want to like incorporate these parts of me, because also that church was like my first introduction to dance, really, because the music was just off the chain. As much as I like would not like going sometimes, because I felt like I can't really be myself, because if they find out I'm gay, it's gonna be a whole situation. Like the music was literally off the chain every single Sunday. I'm just like jamming the polyrhythms, the gong. I mean, you know about it, or the Shake It Ray. Like I'm just, it just gave me so much life. So I wanted to incorporate that. But then bringing Oregon in, and we're like talking about home, and it's just like, wow, that's not her experience. And actually, I don't want to do that thing where I just like make everyone tell my story. It's like, if I want to do that, maybe I can do that one day, but like, I don't know, it's just us two here, like, why would I do that? And we were just like, what's home to you? And we decided to make it very personal, and we're just like, we're going to make this space home. Like, everywhere I go, I want to be able to access home. Like, home is inside of me because there's life inside of me. I have a body that I'm inside of. I have a space that I'm inside of. And also like through my space, like I'm a vessel for my ancestors. It's something I truly believe in. And I also feel like I've experienced like being a vessel. Like I feel like I've had moments in my life in dancing and like being like, oh, I'm no longer alone in this space. Something that I'm not so sure that I know about has joined me. So I just really want to honor that, and I want to honor that with like all the people I was with. So then we kind of changed the paradigm of rehearsal to like, let's get to know each other again as people, as movers, and let's get to talking about like what home means to us. She grew up in a Caribbean household. I don't have that experience at all, and just the many conversations, and then coming up with the movement, which was the hardest part. Because it's just like, you have these ideas and these things that you want to express, but sometimes the choreography will stifle it. And you're just like, do I really have to stick with this? Like, I have a judge in like 2 weeks, blah, 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 like stress. And we're just kind of like, fuck it. Let's not make it about the movement. Let's go ahead and make these phrases so that we could say we got something just in case anything happens, if we just need to go on there and just hit a boom cat. But like, let's not make it about this. Like, let's make this about like the way that like we feel we're expressing the home and the care and the spirit that exists within the space. Let's see if we can, one, make this environment a healthy environment to do that, because that's asking for a lot. I'll never forget, we're like doing an improv exercise and Morgan is like, Dary, you're asking me to be just myself as a performer. That's normally not asked. You gotta give me time. I said, oof, heard. Cool. So let's give it time and let's give it space. That means that we just have to, that means things don't move fast. That means we have to really listen to each other. That means we get into it sometimes because like we're coming from really genuine, emotional, powerful, historic places. And that means we have to learn about like what kind of like emotions and memory and nostalgia, which I'm a huge fan of, like can exist in the space in a healthy way. And how can we share that in a healthy way, stay true, stay healthy, So it kind of became this process, and it really became about us. But then I'm kind of like, I remember having this thought like, okay, this is about us. And I remember one time thinking like, why perform this? Like, why not this just like be about us? And then I remember feeling like, oh, because Black love. Because why not have more opportunities to show that Black love can exist deeply and can be shown, like love and intimacy and spirit, like these things can be shown in nice ways. I feel like I get nervous. I get nervous putting like these things on displays because capitalism just capitalism like will find a hole and will just literally like drop in there and lay eggs, and all the things. And I want to be like, okay, like let's take that risk. I remember using this word, like, let's take that risk. Like, let's make stuff and perform stuff in a way in which we like prioritize care and love, even if it doesn't end up being good. Like, let's take that risk and let's see what happens. And that's kind of what that was. Oh my God, that is so quick.
Didn't I tell you?
Yeah, you did say it. You did.
Didn't I tell you?
There's so many other things. It's all right. If
of course, there's so many other things.
Maybe me.
I told you.
Yes, you did.
Come on back
You did.
in, Zane. But guess who's here, Jay?
Yeah.
Deva is here. Deva Lois is here. Deva Lois Farron.
Yes.
And Jay Bowie. I say, guess who's here? Jay. Guess who's here? Dary. Jay is here. And
Hello.
Cynthia Oliver is here, y'all.
Hi.
And Juan Pablo. I love you, Juan Pablo. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Wow.
I wrote a lot of things down.
Okay.
I know you two have some unfinished business.
Yeah.
So
I think it's fascinating. It's funny that you should be Nigerian because I'm just starting to understand this. Nigerians have a lot of pressure on them. You know what I mean? You have familial pressure, and I think Black people do too. But not in the same way. Like the expectation of what you're going to be and how you're going to be in the world and what you're going to be to the family is completely different than my experience.
Yeah. Very, very intense. Like my mom, also an Aquarius, like it was just
Aquarius, yes.
You're Aquarius?
Yes.
There we go. So
Did you know that, Charmaine?
no, I didn't know that.
That we were both Aquarians?
No.
Because you know I love my Aquarians.
Well, you love my mom. That's no. But yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes. So, and here's the thing. She wants the best. And this is a reason why I love my mom so much, because it has never, like, through it all, and me and my mom, we are working on our relationship, and I love it. We doing some good work. Sometimes we gotta take breaks, but we're doing the work. But I just have never questioned that it was always like for the benefit of me. I've never questioned her love for her children ever. Even when there were some things happening, I was just like, it's questionable. But I never questioned it. So when that energy came at like my dancing and my queerness, and I was like, whoa. I knew that in this weird, strange way, it's coming from love. And I was just like, okay, remember that. Because if it wasn't coming from love, like she wouldn't, at the end of the day, she did support. Like when she saw that I was like really doing it, she was like, all right, well, I want you to go to an in-state school. So let's look at the dance schools that are in-state. And yeah. And I was going to study abroad, and she was going to help me out with that. And, I started to come to shows and like, we'll ask like more questions now. But yeah, it was like really hard for her to branch away from the idea of like her expectation of me, like me and the rest of her children. And I just, looks. If there's one thing you want to know about Nigerian people, looks matter.
Wait, I think we can say that about all of our African descended people.
That's true.
Take that look, and stop the wait. Cheers to everybody. Hey, let's take a big cheers. And I think, don't y'all want to go back to that Trisha Brown question?
Yes.
And think about it for a second, as I also just no questions really so far, but some statements. Meredith said, I danced with you, Mr. Zane. You're a taskmaster. And watching you was witnessing God grace the earth. Oh, that's so sweet. And yeah, we're not going to go back to that natural costume thing, but I have a question in a minute after you addressed your, whoa, I think that question got a lot of people. Renee said, did I hear you say natural costume? But you did. But let's go back to the Trisha Brown question that you had for Dary, Zane.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing was, I was asking if you felt objectified or not seen.
Mm-hmm.
And how, because I think your statement about the costume thing relates to that, because the word costume really means object, right? So I see you as an object, but objects inside of the art world are typecasting. So you know what I mean? So we're talking about the same thing. We're using different words. Some words are more offensive. Typecasting is not as offensive, but it's still seeing the person for the outside, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Still get put in, and that's what Murda's talked about with Arthur Mitchell. And that's when we step into companies that have Black history of a Black person being in the company. You often step into the role that the Black person did when he got there. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yes, I felt like an object. I felt objectified. Yeah, I did.
And how'd you do? How
Yes.
how did you address that?
How did I address it? I left. That was it. Yeah, that was the way. At first it was
Here's the
hard.
answer right there.
At first it was hard. At first it was hard for me to address it. I'd stayed for 2 years. It was hard for me to address it. Then something happened, and I was like, nah, incorrect. That's when conversations started to happen. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. I had gotten injured, wanted more support, which kind of just brought up a few more things. And then I was just like, I don't feel valued. I don't feel valued. I have to leave. I have to leave. This is not this, not to say anything about the pleasurable experience I did have in the company and the people I got to meet and the people I got to dance with. But I was just like, I just have to leave. I can't. You're not gonna understand because I don't have the energy to continue to explain. So that's kind of how it was. And I felt like I felt like it's never gonna be good enough. It's never gonna be good enough. Like what you want from me is actually something I don't have. So actually, you're correct. Actually, you're right. Like you're right. I can't do this. Like what you're asking of me to mimic a body that's like nothing like me, that lived in a different time, that has like a different, understanding. Like, in the ways that you want me to do it, I actually can't, and I actually don't want to. I would actually like to be able to add my own to it. I actually like to be able to celebrate my body as I'm moving. So you're right. This is not gonna work. I gotta go. This was the inner dialogue. But I remember it was really hard. Like I remember feeling like I still want to prove that I can do it. Like I want to prove that I can do it. Like I'm like, this body is capable beyond your comparison of what this body is capable of. Like I remember feeling that pressure to like show that all the time. And I was just like, oh my God, like I'm never gonna be able to, and I don't want to anymore. It's like so much stress. I'll like wake up and I'll be sad. So I was like, this is no longer the way. So that's kind of how I did it. I was just like, I gotta go. I don't necessarily love the way I left, but that was it.
You said something about technique earlier, and it made me think about it was about being good or bad, and this conversation that you were having. Alonzo King said to me, I was dancing in the Valley of Monte Carlo. He came as a guest teacher. He said, among many things, because we became friends, he's a really good friend of mine. He said, you really don't have to have that much technique to be a good dancer.
That's the voice. I love Alonzo.
And it gave me this freedom. You know what I mean? And it doesn't happen immediately, but when somebody plants something like that in your head, and you're around all these white folks that have been, they do ballet since they were 2, like 24/7, and you're trying to keep up, or in your space, just being around a white body, and whether you're cognizant of how it's affecting you or not, because I think for me, my drive was just my drive, but it was also my drive in a white environment.
That's it.
Yeah. Right, which is different, because it's a whole bunch of other stuff piled on top of that, and there, sideways comments and things like that, and things that you bat away. You know what I mean? Because you're trying to get the next part, and you're trying to do the work, and you're trying to be seen as somebody. I was trying to be seen as somebody who was going to do the work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's all that I was trying to be seen as. And anyway, so back to Alonzo, right? And so back to Alonzo freed me up, and it took a while, you know what I mean? But I would leave these environments too, and sort of went on this pathway to finding, freelance projects where I would work with my friends. You know what I mean? I worked with Complexions, and I worked with a company that Michael Thomas and Karen Plete DiBiagio and Elizabeth put together. And I would do these projects, and it was very different. You know what I mean? It was more love in the space. You know what I mean? It was. Excuse
me, those were Black choreographers.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Okay. So, okay. Some more kudos to y'all. Zane, thank you for those amazing Black stories, Renee Redding Jones said. And Clarence Brooks asked you this, dancer with the many Black people. Clarence asks for you, Zane, when Was Lenny Williams in NDT at the same time or before or after?
Okay, now I was very, I don't know. I think, is he the first Lenny Williams? What year do you think he was in the cup? Lenny Williams didn't dance with me.
Okay. All right.
There's
That's
a black
cool.
person before Johnny Meal. So I got there in 89. Gene got there, I think, 84, maybe 86. I think there's a black person before him, and I don't know who that was. And I wanted to ask that name, but I don't know Lenny Williams.
You don't.
Is he young? If he
I'm
young,
not sure. You know, the Lenny Williams that I remember is the one that danced with Elio.
Yeah.
And Elio, right?
Yeah.
Right? I'm not sure. Anyway, put that in your bonnet.
Okay.
This is a question for you, Dary, from Amy Costello.
Okay.
Who would you like to dance with in the future, choreographer Dary?
That's a fantastic question. I don't know. Since quarantine happened, I don't understand my relationship to dance anymore. And at first I was stressful, but now I'm into it. I'm like, I don't know what it is, and we're gonna figure it out. So I don't know. I just want for that person to like know how to like see me and respect me. So yeah, ideally that person's black, and ideally that person's someone who is just honest, caring. I want to dance with someone who's honest. I want to dance with someone who cares about me and about my body and understands that like I have to bring my whole essence to do this thing. Like someone who's going to take that consideration. More than that, I want to dance with someone who inspires me. So actually, I do have some names. So I feel like I'm a really big fan of Marjani Forte.
Who?
Marjani
Forte.
I'm a really big fan of Jonathan Gonzalez. Really big fan of their work as well. That was a hard question. I have to think on this more. Like, I feel like if you asked me this like a few months ago, it would have been like pop. But it's just, recently it's just like, because then there's like all these, bigger black dance companies that you hearing mad stuff about too. And it's just like, do I want to put myself in that predicament? Like, as much as I respect this work, like, do I also want to put myself in that predicament as well? That sounds wild. with all that comes with it, like that sounds wild. So it just really makes you, like, it really makes you think, oh yes, but I want to dance with my friends. Like, I feel like Wendell Gray's an amazing artist. And I'm like, damn, like I could really dance with you. And like, I really like really mess with the way like Bria like interacts with like sound and movement. So I'm just like, oh, that's someone that I can really like imagine dancing for, like being under like the authority of. And so like my friends, I definitely want to dance for. I didn't get the opportunity to work with Jordan Lloyd as I was supposed to, and that's something that I would like to do because I really enjoy the mind. And yes,
many names. What about you, Zane?
What? Who do I want to dance with?
I know we are old, but
oh Jesus! So Meredith and I actually have been. Brenda Dixon told us that we have to do this duet because she sort of prophesized it or saw it in her lens of things to do. So eventually that has to happen. So
wow,
that's when I see myself dancing again. Is me and Meredith, we're gonna do something eventually. I mean, we're working on a project now, but it's not connected to the project that we started like 2 years ago. And we did start it, even if it was only through emails, talking about what the content would be.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, there's another question from David. Wait, Dary?
Almost forgot. Oakley, if you ever want to do something with somebody and you need an extra body, I'm here for you. And that's that.
Oakley.
That's it.
Oh.
Major.
Okay. This is, wow, Dave Aloy, Spiron. What is technique?
What is technique?
Both of you are going to go crazy on this. Dara, do you want to go first, or Zane, do you want to go? Whichever one.
I mean, I think, if you're talking theoretically, or you talking,
right.
Technique is so you master your body, and you master your body in different forms, right? So however you decide to master that, whether it's in the ballet, whatever codified technique, and I think you have to be clear about what we're talking about.
I think it's tongue in cheek too, though, coming from
Yeah.
Deva. But yeah,
Oh, okay. From who?
from Deva Fearon, Deva Lois Fearon. I'm not
Okay.
sure if you know her yet, but
I
you
don't
will.
know her yet. Okay. What is technique? You know, technique is being on the leg then. I could be tongue in cheek about it. On your leg? Are
Right.
you hopping? Did
Right.
you mean the hop? You know
Right.
what I mean? Did you mean the roll? You know,
Come
if you
on.
drop and roll,
Right.
you wasn't supposed to drop and roll. You ain't got no technique. You know, that's all I'm saying.
Good.
So, you know, technique is being able to do what you say you want to do with your body.
Okay.
That's what technique is.
Okay.
Dary, wow, that I like that.
Lovely one. That's a lovely one.
You gonna leave it at that, Dary?
No, I have to add a little something.
Okay.
I have to add a little something. What is technique? Okay. So I don't know, but I know what these forms are, and I feel like we can say ballet, Cunningham, Graham, Horton. Like I feel like we can just say what the forms are, and we don't have to say technique. I feel like when you like put the word like technique on top of it, it's like these are the things that you like absolutely need to like be able to master your body. But you can master your body however you want to master your body. There's some people who want to do this for the rest of their life. Ding da, ding da, ding da. And that can continue, and that can grow, and that can be in process. So I feel like technique is weird. I think technique is a weird, like strange word that has like weird, strange energy surrounding it. That's what I feel about technique.
I think because that word is connected to white supremacy, then there's a problem. Because we think technique, we think white codified forms, but technique is in in all the African forms.
It's true.
You know what I mean? It's in all the Western dance forms. It's in when you're telling a story. When I worked with Pearl Primus said she didn't believe in instant dance.
Ibaye.
There was a technique to that. That was about what she wanted you to say. We did it. Oh my God, we did it for like a whole week. We never learned the ballet. We just did something with the arms. It was this thing. I don't even know what the ballet we were supposed to learn. But you know what I mean? So we have to know when we use words.
Yes.
What we're actually reacting to. Because
Yes.
you're not reacting to the technique. You're reacting to the way white supremacy puts technique on us and uses it as a way to say that it's something that we don't have.
Ashe.
No, I might be reacting to both. But I hear like I hear what you're saying, and I also just feel like when I hear technique, like, or like when someone asks technique, or I guess I want to ask this person, like when you were asking David, when you asked for technique, like what kind of technique were you thinking about? Kind of feel like people are normally not thinking about the other forms. Like they say it, and it's just like our minds go to a certain place, and it's like I just want to respect that. That's where the minds go, and I just kind of want to I hear what you're saying about like there's technique and everything, and that's true. But I also feel like when we're saying technique, like in a dance context, most of the time when I'm hearing it in that way. That's just my experience.
Y'all, it's 7:28. How did that happen?
Could we chatting?
No.
We chatting.
Trevian gave y'all a big old compliment. Trevian said, "This is a lovely pairing."
I agree.
Me too.
Aww.
Aquarian power, baby.
He's so cool. He's done so many things. So I was very excited to hear from you.
Oh my gosh, so great. Kimani, come back. Nick, come back. They're coming back. And we're wrapping up a little bit, but oh my gosh, there's still so much to listen to, right? And hear from y'all.
Always. Wow.
I mean, should I talk? I don't know. Sorry. I was just going to say that I was such an interesting person to watch dance. And I love the fact that I, saw him move and felt his spirit. And he's exactly what I saw when I watched him dance, like this complicated, intense, vulnerable human.
Yes, that is Dary.
Thank you.
Oh, Dary.
Yes, thank you for seeing me. It means a lot.
Oh, and Zane, I think Dary might not have said this to you, but Dary said, "Charmaine, I looked him up and wow."
Wow. They're gonna fit this in 30 minutes.
You live long enough, you do a lot of stuff.
And everybody, Cynthia, Renee, all the folks in the chat kept saying, thank you for dropping all, well, not dropping all those names, but talking about that history. It's so, so important.
It was
Always listening.
intentional, though. I feel like that's what we do when we get together. That's how I learned dance history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I learned dance history by listening to people talk about their experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're lucky to have you here. Kimani, Nick, you want to say anything before we go?
I'm so grateful to everyone being here, and please consider giving donations to Black Dance Stories so we can keep this conversation going. And also, Dare and Zane, we have put things in the chat, so please, it's so greatly appreciated. Anything for you, Nick?
Yeah, just what you were saying. If you guys want to find Zane and Dary after this call is over, I placed the Google Doc in the chat so you guys can find all of their links. And also, Dary and Zane, thank you guys so much for coming tonight. You shared really beautiful stories.
Thank you
Yes,
for having us.
indeed.
Yes.
And I didn't forget this time. I didn't forget Nick and Kimani. Next week, it's Leslie Parker and Wanjiru Kamuyu. Boy, I hope I didn't mess that up. And a world premiere film from Nora Chipamauri. Wow, we're so lucky. Black Dance Stories, it's the bomb diggity, y'all.
That's a big one. Wow, thank you.
It's a
What
big one.
was that, Dare? You whispering something.
That's another one, Nora. If you have a
No.
you know, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant human.
And then, Dare, there's also Zane, who,
Right.
I'm just saying.
I just got to put oil on my knees and lower back. I'll be ready to go.
Okay, but we're gonna. It has to start with honest conversations.
That's right. That's
Look,
right.
my last two pieces, I was working with my company. We would talk for at least a week.
Come on.
Love it.
Well,
At least a week.
on that note, thank you for listening to this Black Dance Story talk, this telling, this sharing. Y'all are the bomb diggity. Please come back, spread the word, spread the love, drop a dime. The money goes to the artist and it helps us to stay alive. Thanks for coming tonight. Cheers, everybody.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of the evening and vote.
Vote. Oh my God, you have to vote.
Vote.
God,
Oh my God, you have to vote.
Oh my God.
Yes. And vote for Biden.
Okay, let's be real.
Bye.
We're just kidding.